Hey leaders, quick question. Do you really need another shiny new program to fix your campus? Yeah, I didn't think so. If you are tired of throwing money at every solution that promises to save tier one, it's time to try something smarter. I've got a free 30-minute training replay where I show you how to give teachers what they actually need without buying another product, adding more staff, or micromanaging the people you already have. You'll learn why most new programs don't deliver the impact they promise, the real reason teachers keep asking for more, and how to solve it without spending a dime, and how to strengthen tier one instruction with what you already have on campus. You're also going to get instant access to free resources and a sneak peek at strategies from my book, The Craft of Clarity. So grab the free replay and resources at catchingupwithcasey.com/clarity over clutter, because better leadership shouldn't cost you another $50,000 and a 6-hour training that nobody wanted. Hey there, welcome to the Catching Up with Casey show. If you are tired of chasing buy-in, frustrated by teams who just can't seem to get on the same page, or over the constant struggle of holding people accountable without feeling like you're micromanaging, this is the show for you. I'm Casey Watts, team leadership expert and the host of this show. I specialize in clarity, collaboration, and character, and I help leaders just like you take teams from chaos to cohesion, from frustration to alignment, so teams can actually work together toward a common purpose instead of against each other as though they are functioning in different organizations. Whether you lead a single team or a team of teams, on this show, we talk about strategies that are going to help you create a culture where accountability and autonomy go hand in hand. Now, with all of that said, let's dive into today's conversation and learn how to lead clarity-driven teams. Oh, shoot. Hold on. Hey, everybody. Listen, I'm struggling with getting some stuff off the screen. There we go. I did it. So if you, technology issues, or AKA those people who don't know how to run their technology effectively, that's me. Welcome to the show, everybody, and welcome, Becca Silver. I'm so excited to have you.
Yay, I'm excited to be here and chat with you. I always love talking with you. You're so full of energy and ideas and vibrance for making the difference.
Yeah, I am really, really pumped about today's episode because we're going to be talking about why your team is stuck, but more importantly, how to unstick it. And this all stems from an email. I get your emails. You send an email out. Listen, guys, if you are not subscribed to Becca's newsletter, you need to do so, and you need to access her content on social media platforms as well, because there's so much great stuff that you provide. But this one, of course, because I talk about leading teams, really struck a chord, and it was titled Why Your Team is Stuck and How to Unstick It. And so obviously that's the title of today's podcast episode. So we're going to dive into that here in just a moment. But I know you've been on the show before. But just in case people didn't listen to that episode, why don't you share about the work that you do?
Sure. So I'm Becca Silver. I'm CEO and founder of the Whole Educator. I work with instructional coaches and instructional leaders and kind of all levels of leaders, statewide leaders, district leaders, to better support teachers in the world of human-centered coaching, a human-centered approach to coaching and learning in our schools versus a task-centered approach, right? So we get lots of stuff done through people's humanity, through understanding our own humanity and other people's humanity, and it goes so much quicker instead of going around people's humanity through overuse of accountability and compliance, right? So how do we get stuff done? By connecting with others.
Yes, I love that so much. In fact, you are working with schools right now. I think you're kind of in between a couple of places where you're doing exactly that and coaching the coaches.
Yeah,
a
yeah,
leader.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And the thing I love, and I always say this, I love talking about resistance and going beyond buy-in. So resistance is my jam. We're going to talk about that today. I know we talked about that a little bit on our last um, session together as well.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about first, you talk so much about a growth mindset, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
In all of your content, you talk about a growth mindset. So I want
Hmm.
to start with why growth mindset alone isn't enough for teams to move forward. And let's really think about the teams that are stuck, which so many of us probably experience. But why is a growth mindset alone not enough?
So it's what's beautiful. One thing I do want to honor is that growth. Carol Dweck and her team are like discovered and named this really important thing, right? So one thing I do honor and respect growth mindset as a way of thinking, but it does not honor all of our humanity. It doesn't acknowledge we get stuck for more reasons than our belief that I can improve, right? So growth mindset. And so I also want to name what it is and what it isn't. Growth mindset is the basic belief that I can improve
Yeah.
through different strategies, effort, a bunch of things. Growth mindset is not resilience. Growth mindset is
Mm,
not working hard. Growth mindset is not effort. Growth mindset can have those things happen. It can cause those things, but it is not that. Mindsets are beliefs.
yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad you pointed that out because I think it's so easy because so many people have heard the term growth mindset and we do attach it to Carol Dweck's
Hmm.
work,
Hmm.
but a lot of people I don't think have done the deeper work of
Hmm.
understanding growth mindset. It's just what we hear and we take that and we carry it along in our own conversations and in our own journey, and it takes on this whole new identity that sometimes maybe isn't completely accurate.
That's exactly it. And it turns into, and this is kind of a soapbox I stand on, it turns into bulletin boards and acronyms, which and then it starts being called things like the positive mindset. Growth mindset is not a positive mindset. As a matter of fact, growth mindset can feel dysregulating. It can feel,
Mhm.
one of the parts of growth mindset is discomfort, sorry, tolerance, discomfort, tolerance for discomfort. Um,
Yes.
Sometimes I say it forwards or like discomfort tolerance, but it's the idea that we can like tolerate discomfort, right? When you think positive
Yeah.
mindset, you're not thinking like, wow, I have to like be able to tolerate some discomfort, right? And so it's turned into or morphed into these like nice fluffy things. And as a matter of fact, I often see in schools perfectionism, like how do I say this? Growth mindset, but in a perfectionistic way. And so it's like, oh, I have the
Yeah.
perfect bulletin board for growth mindset. That's an oxymoron. So
Yeah.
perfection is actually a it's a result of a fixed mindset. So, we just really want to acknowledge what growth mindset is and isn't, and then really look at if we are looking to cause change and we're looking at whether someone believes they can improve. What if they do believe they can improve and they still aren't changing? What else
Mm.
is missing? Right.
Mhm.
So there's
Yeah.
these five other mindsets. Oh, sorry, four other mindsets. There's five total mindsets that research shows that we need to be willing to change. And I call them the catalyst mindsets. And they are value mindset. I believe I have this has value for me. Growth mindset is part of that. I believe I can improve. Success mindset. I believe I can be successful, which underlies all the mindsets are very interconnected, and that's what we also call self-efficacy. We have ownership mindset. I believe that by being responsible, I can change things. And I know I'm missing one. I'm looking at my wall right now. I always miss one. I'm like, which one is it? Belonging mindset. Oh, belonging mindset. I believe I belong here, right? And like trust is embedded in belonging mindset, right? There's kind of nuances to that. But if you think about it, I can believe I can improve in knitting and still not learn how to knit because maybe I don't
Mhm.
find value in it.
Yeah. Yeah. Can you state those 5 once more?
Sure, 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 sure. All right, we have success mindset. I believe I can be successful in this.
Mm-hmm.
Growth mindset, I believe I can improve, right? They're related, but not the same. Value mindset, I believe this has value for me. Belonging mindset, I believe I belong here.
Mm-hmm.
And ownership mindset, I believe that by taking responsibility, I can change things. And
Yeah.
ownership mindset has 3 elements to it. It's kind of one of I have favorites. I always ask people, I'm like, which one's your favorite? Look, they're not children. I can have favorites.
Yeah.
Right. And ownership is one of my favorites. And there's 3 elements to ownership mindset. There's agency, right? I believe I have like choice and autonomy in this, and that I can make a difference. Um, Optimism and accountability. So the way I say it is take the reins, believe it's possible, and own the outcome.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I can already, I mean, we haven't even dug into this podcast yet, but I can already see how this would be so impactful for a team who is stuck, and
Mhm,
why a team would be stuck when there
mhm,
is a lack of these mindsets. And
mhm,
I, I, for one, don't think, I think I've heard of these terms just kind of like in isolation, but
mhm,
not all paired together
mhm,
and not with the idea of them being mindsets. I mean, we just hear growth mindset all the time.
mhm,
And so it's really refreshing to hear, wait a minute, it's way more complex than that.
mhm,
And it makes sense. Everything that you're saying makes so much sense.
mhm.
So let's talk about what happens when one of these mindsets is missing. Well, actually, sorry, I'm going to back up. Do you think, like, when you think about the 5 mindsets, do you, I know you think individually, like a person individually
Mhm,
needs to have these mindsets, but what
mhm.
about collectively?
Yep. So these mindsets, what I love about these mindsets is they can live in a culture,
Uh-huh.
they can live in a team, and they can live in an individual. And we want to look at all the levels of that or
Yeah.
any of the
Yeah.
levels, right? Yeah. So absolutely. So collectively as a team, the 3rd grade team at Smith Elementary can lack a success mindset. They don't
Hmm.
believe their students can successfully read on grade level by the end of the school year
Yeah. Yeah.
collectively.
Yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely. And I can see how that would be so imperative to identify where that what growth mindset or see, there I go. I'm calling it a growth mindset.
Yeah.
Oh, where that mindset is missing
Yeah.
and how it can impact the improvement of our students in our schools and organization.
Yeah.
So what do you feel like happens when one of those mindsets is missing? Any one of
So
them.
so we see things like well, what's interesting is they all have an opposite mindset. So growth mindset, opposite mindset's fixed mindset, right? The opposite mindset of ownership mindset is victim mindset, right? So they all
Mm.
kind of have opposites. Right? The opposite of belonging mindset's a disconnected mindset. So you hear specific kinds of complaints. So one
Mhm.
of the easiest ways to discover and diagnose which mindsets need support in teams is to listen, right? And it's listening for
Yeah.
what their frustrations are, because it'll
Right.
come out in their frustrations.
Mhm. Yeah, I love that you mention listening for. Like,
Mhm,
too often we know how valuable and important listening is,
mhm,
but we don't always hone the skill of listening for, like
cool.
listening for specific things. And
Mhm, mhm,
even in my book, I talk about going on listening tours and listening to understand. But
mhm,
even then, like, you have to know exactly what it is you're listening for.
mhm.
And you have to be ready to kind of take all of the things that you're hearing and look at it through a specific lens
Mhm.
and analyze those things that you're hearing.
Exactly. And that's what
Because
that's what go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think we still can come away with our own inaccurate assumptions
Mhm.
based on what we're hearing if we're not intentional about it.
That's exactly it. And what I love about these mindsets is it gives us an opportunity to structure what we're listening for. It's not the only
Mm,
thing we could be listening for, but we could if I'm we can use these to diagnose resistance and stuckness,
Yes.
right? So it's like, okay, I have stuckness. Let me listen for which of these 5 mindsets needs support. One thing that I'm very careful about my language around is not saying what mindset's missing. And I'm not entirely sure why I feel so strongly about this, but it doesn't feel human. It feels a little dehumanizing. Like, oh, you're missing this, you're missing the growth. Well, it's we all mindsets. We're humans. We think, we have mindsets, right? So I don't know if missing is if it feels dehumanizing to me, but I like to say that, like, which one needs more support? Because you definitely have mindsets.
Yeah. There's one mindset or another. Like, it could be the polarizing, but it could be one or the other. Yeah, that's great. I'm already thinking about team meetings that I have coming up and how I'm going to approach it and what I'm going to be listening for. And I think this is a really important place to mention that you have a resource for people.
Yes, I do.
Because I'm thinking, like, okay, I'm going to have this resource with me. Would you go ahead and tell us about the resource that you have?
Sure. I have a few resources, and I think there's kind of one that like branches off into the others. I have a quiz that you can take that it's about 15 questions. It takes, I don't know, maybe 5 minutes. And you answer questions about how your team communicates their frustrations, like when they get challenged, what do they say and do, right? What are their reactions to all of these kind of challenges in their day? And then the quiz tells you which main mindset needs the most support. It's not like the only one, and they are interconnected. I always like to say this, right? So while there are 5 separate ones, they are interconnected, but it does tell you which one. And then you get emailed an ebook that gives you more information about all the mindsets. So you can learn about that one and more. And then I'm currently in the middle of recording a asynchronous course on the mindsets as well. So you could soon learn how, like, techniques on how to move those mindsets.
Yes.
So it's a great place to start in the inquiry of asking and listening. And I do want to share a quick story, actually, of a win a coach had last week that I was working with. She said to me, she said, Becca, I have this teacher that will, and I think she'd been working at her school for 4 years. She's like, she's resistant. She will never get coaching. Her previous coach would also say she would be shot. Like, there was like this agreement around, like, she will never get coaching. She will never. And I'm like, okay, I got it. And it's so funny, like, everyone listening, like, I want you to think of the teacher that you swear would never be willing to take coaching. She's the one, apparently. I'd never met this teacher. I didn't know her. And I was like, look, I said to the coach, I said, go, your assignment in the next week, go and just listen to her. Show up at her door. Hey, what's going on? And just listen. That's all I want you to do. And then come back and tell me what she said. So the next week she comes back and she's like, I learned things. So she learned, like, the teacher was missing, or not missing. See, I always make that mistake too, but was didn't find value in coaching. She felt like she knew what she was doing. She got good scores. She was good to go. Right. And because the coach went back and just kept listening. She kept going back and listening. And gosh darn it, when I came back a month later, she had gone through a whole coaching cycle with her.
Yay.
And I was like, yes. And it's so powerful because if no one before, for years, right, people had tried to coach her and the teacher wouldn't receive coaching. And through listening, through understanding, through giving people what they need, everyone actually wants to grow.
Yep.
It's just unmet needs that keep folks stuck and experiencing resistance.
Yeah. And we can't get to those barriers if we don't understand what mindset needs some shifting and support.
Exactly. And when we are grabbing from our coaching tools, if we're grabbing from compliance-based coaching tools, and I'm not against, like, holding folks accountable. I'm actually very pro constructive accountability. There's also
Right.
destructive accountability, right? Constructive accountability can amplify all of these mindsets. But if we are grabbing from our compliance-based toolbox instead of our human-centered toolbox, we are going to experience resistance,
Mm-hmm.
period.
Mm-hmm.
And so
Yeah.
the beautiful thing about these mindsets is it helps us see that resistance is caused from unmet needs.
Yeah. I just feel like it's so important to mention to our listeners, and I guess my listeners, but our listeners. But I say my listeners because I know that I have a variety of listeners on the show, and I think sometimes when listeners hear the term coach, they
Mhm.
think about instructional coach. But I want to be clear, and I know you would say this too, Becca, that there is a coach within all of us. A leader of any kind at any level should be really cognizant and mindful about their coaching skills because you are a coach at heart. And so I just want to be super clear that what you're sharing with us is so important and powerful for any leader.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah.
Just like to
Yeah.
put that out
Yeah.
there.
And I as I'm on my resistance soapbox. One of the things I know I said this in the last session that we had on your podcast, and I want to kind of reiterate my language around resistance is very specific. I do
Mhm.
not say resistant teachers. I don't call people resistant. They are people experiencing resistance or teachers experiencing resistance. It is a mouthful. It is totally inconvenient to say that, but it is accurate.
Yeah.
And so I really want to name here, my language is very specific about that people are experiencing resistance and we can move through it, just like we have other experiences like sadness and joy. We can move through those experiences. We're not stuck that way. I'm not always sad. I experience sadness. I'm not
Yeah.
always resistant. I experience resistance. And I
Mhm.
also want to normalize everyone experiences resistance.
Yep.
All right. We all experience it. We resist family members. We resist the gym. We resist lots of things in our lives. We resist putting my phone down before bed. That's been a battle.
Uh,
But and it's all
yep.
resistance. It's all
Yeah.
resistance. And I think in kind of our world of education, it's been this demonized thing. And I'm here to normalize it. Humans experience resistance. And it's our jobs as coaches and leaders to understand what needs to be met for that
Mhm.
person to not experience so much resistance.
Yeah, after our last session together, I have found myself constantly thinking about but I am a firm believer that words have power and the
Yes.
way we use words has power.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
that's one of the things that I made a shift. So thank you so much. You
Be
gave me
careful.
some language shifting to practice after our last session because that's one thing I'm really cognizant of is
Mhm.
we are experiencing resistance.
Mhm.
And that's a hard thing to shift too, I think, because we have heard it. It's become the narrative that we are practicing time and time again. So it just becomes a
Mhm.
part of our language.
Mhm.
But it's just like with anything that we've said, we have to apply clarity to it in order
Mhm.
for it to have the meaning that it should have, just
Mhm.
like growth mindset and
Mhm.
all of these other mindsets.
Mhm.
So I want to know if a team or a leader is really thoughtful about these 5 mindsets, and I love
Mhm.
you call them catalyst mindsets.
Yes. Yes. That is the
Yes.
name of them. Mhm.
Why but why? Tell me about why you chose that.
I was really thinking about like I was digging into the research and I was kind of, pulling these together. And I was like, what do these mindsets do in reality? Right.
Uh-huh.
And I think growth mindset was aptly named. I was like, good job, Carol and team. Good job. Good naming job. And I wanted to do, an accurate job naming these mindsets. These mindsets don't fix anything. They don't
Mhm.
fix you. They don't fix me. You don't fix the change. Right. But they do catalyze something. I can't guarantee results from helping someone adopt a different mindset, but I can catalyze them, right? I can help them
Yeah.
start something different,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
And there's all sorts of other things that keep the change going, right? And bring that follow through. But man, these mindsets, and I'm here to cause different results. I know these mindsets work because when I go in and I utilize them with teachers and coaches, I get different results. We hear people say different things. Teachers email and say, I was thinking of quitting and now I'm not. Like something different happens, right?
Yeah.
So it catalyzes something new.
Yeah. Good job, Becca Silver, on naming.
Thank you.
No, I love it. It's so great. You've talked a little bit about transformation. I want to start coming to a close. I've loved this episode so much. And I know we said this last time we visited, like we could just keep talking and probably go on a million different tangents that are all really important. And I know everybody would love to hear that conversation, but we'll save it for another time. I want to start to come to a close. I want you to share the one step that leaders could take tomorrow to start shifting their team's belief system.
Oh, I love this to start. So the first step is understanding where they are. It's just like teaching a child. You don't just jump in and be like, you're going to learn reading today, Johnny. You're going to say, hey, Johnny, what level, like what skills do you actually need? Right. So the first step is going in and listening for these mindsets to understand where your team is at so that you can start to name. If you can name it, you can tame it, right? So you can start to name, hey, my team really needs support and belonging mindset. They don't feel, supported and don't trust the changes happening. And so I need to support that, right? Step one, listen and diagnose which mindsets need support.
Yeah. I have a follow-up question that just came to mind, and you may not have, it may be not the best question, but I do wonder if you know that you're going in, let's say as a leader, I'm going in and I am listening to this team and I want to diagnose. At any point, do you share with your staff that these are the mindsets we want to practice as a campus? What are your thoughts on that?
Absolutely. Yeah. Everywhere growth mindset goes, the catalyst mindsets can go. So catalyst mindsets can be taught to children in classrooms. Research shows this is impactful in classrooms, wildly impactful in classrooms. So absolutely. Now, the big mistake, and this is why I focus on leaders and coaches working with teachers, the biggest mistake I think that happened with growth mindset is we skipped the teachers. We said as leaders, hey, we need growth mindset. Oh, bulletin boards, whatever. And then we taught the children and we skipped the teachers. And so I'm not messing around, people, that we cannot as a school talk with teachers about teaching this to children before we utilize this with teachers first. I think it is very healthy to share these with teachers and have them self-assess.
Yeah.
Which mindsets do I need support in, right? And it does not mean, how for a while, I feel like there's a lot on social media around teachers complaining, like the find your why PDs, that they're like, I am overworked and underpaid and there's all these structural issues. And they're like, find your why, like I'm not saying that, right? I'm not like, use this to beat teachers over the head. You should find value. No. And how, this framework can really help people get themselves empowered. I use this for myself all the time. If I'm stuck, I'm like, why am I not going to the gym? Right. And I go through my mindsets. Right. So us as humans can use this to empower ourselves. Us as coaches, me and you, we could use this to empower each other. Right. We could talk about where we're stuck and go through the mindsets. So it can totally be used to empower people. And I just want to be very clear. This is not a stick we beat people on the heads with.
Yeah. It's not an initiative that you roll out and it becomes posters and mantras. It's deep work.
It is.
And continuous work. It's continuous work.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's vulnerable and it's messy and it requires like reflection and informed action and then reflection again and discomfort tolerance.
Yes. I love it. I've loved every bit of this conversation. It's been so fun. So if people wanted to do this work, where are they going to find the resources you mentioned earlier?
Yeah. So on my website, thewholeeducator.com, there's a free resources section. So right up top, I put my ebook is right there. If you just want to read the ebook, if you want to take the quiz and then read the ebook, the quiz, I believe, is right underneath. So it's right there. There's also under my program section, there's just a one pager. If you're like, look, just give me the summary, give me the cliff notes. There's right there on my programs page. It's just a quick little one pager you can skim as well. I also, on my podcast, Coaching the Whole Educator, I have an episode. If you're a listener, like I need to listen to it. Episode 122 is about the catalyst mindsets as well. So those are all kind of, I also have a blog. You can click on my blog. So there's all different kinds of resources to learn about them the way you want to learn about them.
And out of my pure curiosity, what are your own goals or what's the word I'm looking for? Oh my gosh, I use it all the time and now I'm blanking on it. But what are your aspirations for this? Like, let's think 10 times on this catalyst mindsets journey. Where do you see this going?
Oh, thank you for asking. I journal about this. This is like very real and present for me. Well, one, I'm writing a book about this. And so my aspirations is that folks are reading my book to diagnose, to understand resistance to change as it is and not what it's not. This, to stop demonizing resistance to change and to utilize this framework to support people. So I'm hoping this goes viral. My dreams is that this goes viral like Growth Mindset did. And that folks across the land, when they experience resistance, they're like, which mindset needs support, and go right to it and learn about them and utilize them. And I have frameworks, but it goes beyond that. Like in belonging, if I said, hey, your team doesn't feel they belong, sure, you could use my belonging framework. That's fine. But we also know how to connect as humans, that we go right to and say, what can I do to support them in that specific thing?
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm excited for you. And you know that book is going to be on my shelf. So excited.
I'm so excited.
Okay. So you've talked a little bit about where people can find you, but is there a specific place like I'm here all the time? Where would they go?
There's two places I am there all the time. It is, I'd say my website, thewholeeducator.com. You can find me on all the social medias at the Whole Educator. But I'd say like my podcast, Coaching the Whole Educator. And we really focus on mindsets and motivations to support teachers.
Awesome. Well, thank you for coming on the show. This has been awesome.
Yay, this is fun.
All right. We'll talk to you later.
Yeah.
Okay, leaders, if you are looking for practical strategies to strengthen collaboration in your school or organization, then you are going to love the podcast, Building a Culture of Collaboration with Curtis and Lorna Hewson. Each episode features insightful conversations with education leaders, exploring real-world approaches to teamwork, leadership, and building a thriving culture. So whether you are a teacher, administrator, or leadership enthusiast, you're going to walk away with ideas you can use right away. Hey there, thanks for joining this episode. I would love for you to do me 3 solid favors before you head out. Number 1, subscribe to this show. I've got a lot of great guests and content coming up, and I don't want you to miss any of it. Number 2, share this show. Share it with your like-minded colleagues and friends who want to learn how to lead clarity-driven teams. And finally, connect with me on all the social media platforms. You can find me at Catch Up with Casey on Instagram, YouTube, and LinkedIn. Until next time, go off and create teams that leave people feeling inspired, empowered, and eager for more each day.